The key to stimulating muscle growth is the intensity of the exercise.
Experiencing pain in your muscles and then go on, and this last repetitions, that's what makes the muscle grow.
Hi, Hassan Khan here. Welcome to my fitness channel. I run this for fun. Before we jump into natural hypertrophy training, if I can kindly request a quick moment of your time, I have an important message for you. So normally I'm an engineer and software project management consultant by profession. And my message is that we are facing unprecedented times as technology races forward unlike any other time in history, and you might very well be impacted. Basically, AI is eating tactical roles in white-collar jobs silently, and we are facing a 50% headcount reduction by 2030. And if you're impacted, the only way you'll know is if one day your login is removed out of the blue. And that's to avoid spooking the workforce. And even slow-moving organizations will adopt fast once they see themselves losing market share to those ahead of them using AI automation technology. The good news is this trend does create an opportunity. I've spent more than 2,500 hours researching and working on a solution to this issue. I found a McKinsey report which estimates 175 million new AI orchestration roles will be made by 2030. So if you're a coder, a software engineer, or a tactical project manager doing things like scheduling, status updates, spreadsheets, balancing ledger work, business analysis work, your role will be impacted. AI can already do this work. And this isn't to scare you. It's simply the truth. So check out my blog. It teaches you how to pivot to AI deployment project management consulting, totally for free. There is an accelerator program. However, the blog has tons of material for free, including a 90-day roadmap on the transformation. Of course, if you do it with me, you can do it a lot faster, but it is there. And the blog also includes an alert system for new AI orchestration and FinTech contract project management roles. And I made everything myself. All of the tools, the articles, the training portal, and so on. So I encourage you to check it out, and I appreciate your attention. Now, let's get back to pumping weights with my signature intensity-based training for natural hypertrophy. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Hammers, welcome back. All right, currently it is 6:45 in the morning, and you are joining me to go smash an arm workout. Yes, it is time for a workout. All right, before we get into the workout rants of how to put on 50 pounds of muscle, a quick agenda item. I'm going to merge this channel with my other channel. My other channel is the Deadly Consultants, and this one is Hassan Hammer for Hammer Fitness. And I think I'll merge them and just put two playlists because it doesn't really make sense growing two channels that are new. And in fact, these two activities are my primary activities. Either I'm working on my business, which is related to teaching people how to do project management consulting for AI deployment projects, BI-FinTech projects, data projects, business intelligence projects, and sharing my 10 years of experience and all of that. So instead of putting it in two different areas, I'll just combine it into one. Okay, so now that's out of the way, let us talk about hypertrophy. So what this channel is about. The aim of this channel is to show people how to put on 50 pounds of muscle naturally. Why? I notice a movement online where people default to TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, and then they don't actually do TRT. They take it to physiological levels. Well, that's a hard word to say. They take it to physiological levels, and instead of having it at 700 test, they take it to 1500 or beyond. But that's not needed because from my experience, I was able to put on 20 pounds of muscle a year for 2 years in a row, which I think is better than a lot of people's TRT results. So that's what I want to share. And my camera is a little unstable. That's what I want to share. And also we are in the E39 today, which is awesome. It's always a good day when I am in the E39. Lately, I've been having to drive some of my other cars, which are automatic, which I don't like as much. However, there's snow on the road and this is rear-wheel drive, so all that said, I am still in the E39. I'll just have to take it easy on the gas pedal and it should be fine. I've taken this through 6 winters anyways before, so not a problem. So that's the ethos of this channel. Now, I'll just go over a very quick summary of this because usually I rant at length of how to do this, but pretty much what qualifies me is I went from 130 pounds to 170 pounds over a period of 2 years, and I put on 20 pounds of muscle per year naturally, okay? So you can see my transformation. It's right in the beginning of the video, and also if you click my YouTube channel, you'll see it in the banner. So I highly encourage you to try it the natural way. And how do you do that? It's a 3-part approach. The first part is intensity-based training. Heavily utilize supersets, drop sets, lengthen partial reps, and rest pauses in your workouts, which should be approximately 1 hour every other day max. You don't need more than that. In fact, I am pretty busy working on my academy for training project managers, and it takes up 70 to 80 hours a week of my time, and I'm still able to do this. So even if you're busy, health is important. This gives me, just walking on the treadmill for 20 minutes is boring. It's hard to maintain, but when you make it a mission-oriented mindset, then it makes it easier to follow whatever your mission is. Just for me, this speaks to me, this juicy goal of trying to put on 50 pounds of muscle, and allows me to stick to the routine. So first piece of the puzzle is intensity-based training. The second piece of the puzzle is nutrition. I never calorie counted. I do 3 protein shakes per day, each with a scoop of creatine and a scoop of oatmeal. That has served me well. Without calorie counting, I went all the way from 130 to 170 pounds. Now, if you need to cut, just eat till you're 95% full. You don't need to still calorie count. This doesn't have to be something crazy. These changes come not drastically. You want to make it maintainable. You don't want to make it like a crash diet or something like that, because primarily you're looking to do this for your cognitive benefits and your sense of well-being, and the physical benefits will always eventually come if you do it for reasons that allow you to stick to it. Okay, so the second piece of the puzzle is nutrition, 3 protein shakes per day, easy, done, that's out. And the third is progressive overload. You need to track your sets and reps. You would have seen my progressive overload notes in the beginning, and make sure you're either matching your reps or beating them or going up in weight. It might take you even 10 workouts to get an extra rep after you've been at it for a while, but you need to do progressive overload. Otherwise, as a natural athlete, you will not grow. My camera is super wobbly, I apologize. Okay, that concludes how to do the 50 pounds of muscle. But something else I've been thinking about is I read this amazing book a few times. It's Elon Musk's biography by Walter Isaacson. And I was just thinking about this book and Elon Musk in general. And first of all, I have to say, he is one of my favorite human beings. So I have a bias against him. If you don't like Elon Musk, you will probably label me as a biased person. But this all started in a long time ago. I don't remember exactly when, sometime between 2009 to 2012, when I saw a first Tesla Roadster at the Toronto Auto Show. I went there and I knew every car except that electric car. And I was like, I'm a car fanatic. And I was like, what is this? And I went and I looked up Tesla and I found out who Elon Musk is. Then I found out he made Zip2, PayPal, and how it was X.com. And then he launched SpaceX. And me studying aerospace engineering, him launching rockets, and him into software, and me having a natural affinity to software, being a software project management and all of that. So I started researching him before he was famous, and his gritty methods really spoke to me. So I think I will do a little bit of ranting about Elon Musk and his principles and what I've learned from his book by Walter Isaacson, his biography. And one of the first thing is he is wired for war. That's how he treats his mission, his life, and everything. And it's not in a violent way, it's more of in an intensity, high intensity way. So wired for war, how do I manifest that? The first thing is you try to get yourself in state. There's a state where you're a lazy couch potato, and there's a state where your brain is firing on all cylinders. And for me, if I get 6 hours of sleep, I know they say you need more, but honestly, 6 hours. After 6 hours, I feel fresh. Right now I'm on 6 hours and I feel perfectly fine. And I'm able to work 12 hours a day on this without feeling foggy-eyed. So listen to your body. If you need more, go get more. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But putting yourself in states, a high state of intensity. So 6 hours of sleep. After that, either my stair sprints, which take like 15 minutes. I climb my building 3 times, 25 floors times 3. And it takes your heart rate to maximum. I highly recommend taking your heart rate to maximum. 5-minute warm up, 5-minute maximum heart rate, like 5 to 7 minute warm up, 5 to 7 minute maximum heart rate. I sprint. I skip a stair and I sprint all the way to the 12th floor. Sorry, the 15th floor, halfway up the building, and then from there I walk, and that takes the maximum heart rate. That combined with a cold shower, so I turn it on maximum cold, and it is like -20 outside, so I still do this every day. I make sure I do not skip a day. You figure out what your system is, and what it does is it does cortisol stacking in the morning. Okay, so when you wake up, you raise your baseline arousal, and as your cortisol decreases throughout the day, you get lethargic and sleepier. I know they say cortisol is a stress hormone, but another function of cortisol is to track your alertness. So what you want to do is you want to have your cortisol in sync with your natural timing. So high in the morning and low before you go to bed. And when you wake up, get yourself in state. So for me, that's my exercise. Today's the gym. Tomorrow will be the stair sprints, and then I'll just alternate. So the exercise, the ice cold shower for 10 seconds, 4 cups of coffee. Yes, that's what I like. High intensity, wired for war, get yourself in the zone. And for me personally, every 2 hours I'll chew a quarter piece of nicotine gum. Okay, now I'm not saying go outside and buy nicotine gum. Nicotine is highly addictive. In NRT form, nicotine replacement therapy, it's a lot less addictive because the absorption method into the bloodstream is a lot slower. But personally, that's what I do. I'm just going to share with you what I do and what works for me. Now, what that does is it all stacks. It raises your cortisol in the morning, and it stacks dopamine for alertness and non-epinephrine for alertness. And it allows you to focus, for me, 12 hours in one shot. Around hour 8 or so, I will take a bit of a break. I'll just read something on my phone, go on YouTube, do some mindless activity, just to reset the baseline so you're not so amped up. But that's one principle, wired for war, that he does, that I have taken to heart. And the second is mission over everything. Pick something and dedicate your cause to it. Now, what does that mean? So it's not about just hard work, because the person working minimum wage at the corner store 60 hours a day is not going to exactly get ahead. So you have to, when it comes to being wired for war, you have to select what the campaign is, and then what the battle is. And you got to keep the campaign in mind. Okay, so for me, it's launching this training academy. That was my campaign. And behind that was a lot of battles, like saving up enough capital, getting the right certifications, working with the right contracts and employers. Like I worked with Canada Life, Morgan Stanley, FundServe, Scotiabank, and a bunch of others that got me the experience. Taking notes throughout all of this process and slowly putting all this together where every battle leads up to a war, and then you slowly execute on that. So the campaign should be a nice, juicy goal, which I call my chief goal. But you can't just work hard. You need to work hard in the right direction, ideally with the right people, but sometimes you just got to do it alone. You got to work hard in the right direction with leverage. Okay, so just working a constant hourly rate at an entry-level job is not going to get you there. So either you skill yourself up, or you use money as leverage to buy labor, or you use money as leverage for capital and you put your capital to work. But you put all of those things together and you work on that with your campaign with a high intensity, wired for war mindset, and you go all out, push as hard as you can, sunrise to sunset. Now, that may seem extreme, but it comes down to what your personal standards are. Okay, like, I took a moment to define what work ethic means for me. If my time passes, which is going to pass anyways, what I value, and from that, what work ethic means for me. And I know people are wired for different things. I'm a very goal-oriented person. Personally, I like the whole learning as much as you can, personal development, personal growth. And there's reasons behind this, because humans, since 500,000 years ago, when we were working with fire and hunting and gathering, our advantage came from mastery of the environment and tool making. And recently, when I say recently, 10,000 years ago, we switched to farming, which, like the agricultural revolution, which allowed us to cluster into smaller cities. And in the last 200 years in the Industrial Revolution, our activities are different than what they were for 500,000 years to 1.5 million years ago. As Neanderthals and all of that, we were walking around, mastering our environment, and that put us on the top of the food chain through the application of focus. So for my research, when you tap into this, when you focus, when you learn as much as you can, you are in line with your DNA for the past 500,000 years, which allows you to function at a better level. It keeps things like poor mood, depression, low energy, and all of that stuff at bay. So pick your battle, pick whatever it is, define your work ethic. For me, work ethic means going all out and pushing as hard as I can till exhaustion every single day. Sunrise to sunset, I take it one day at a time, and I maximize the day, and that's how I treat it with Wired for War from Elon Musk's perspective. And all of this stuff is directly influenced from him. The second thing, okay, I should go into my workout, but I'll go into one more. There's 10 topics. I'll go into one more. The second thing is he pursues point of maximum leverage as an engineer and entrepreneur. And watching him in action is always a joy. For example, currently, his last crazy thing, aside from his companies like coming into Twitter, restructuring it, SpaceX, finding profitability in a highly unprofitable field, transforming the electric car industry, all of that I'm sure you've already heard of. But looking at the most recent win for Trump for elections, what he did was he found the event that makes the biggest difference, which was, I believe, Pennsylvania as the swing state. And then he poured all of his resources into campaigning at that point that makes the biggest difference. And you saw the results. Trump won. So he picked the point of maximum leverage. He went in there and he campaigned, and I believe he awarded $1 million a day for campaigning or something like that. I forget. But he took an unwinnable situation and he made it winnable by identifying the maximum point of leverage and executing ruthlessly in that direction. And I say ruthlessly and Wired for War, but it's not meant in a negative way. You tether your mission to your higher objectives, whatever that may be for you, right? So for me, I want freedom. That's my higher objective. And when I was working an entry-level job, $60,000 a year, started off as an implementation specialist, all my time was gone. That was very low on the freedom spectrum. When I was working as a project management consultant with a salary equivalent of over $400,000 a year, and they gave me the ability to travel wherever I wanted and work remotely, and I had 3 days off, and I was given a laptop and my own work schedule, that was a lot more on the spectrum of freedom. So I fight for personal freedom so I can invent more things and master my subject material better. That's what speaks to me. But whatever your mission is, pick it, wire yourself for war, go all out, That's one of my lessons from Elon Musk's book, Walter Isaacson. Very good book. I highly recommend you read it. But anyways, I will pause my rants there. It is time to go smash an arm workout. I will see you guys inside. All right, time to start the workout. So let's cover the agenda for the workout. So pretty much, first I'm going to do 20 reps with 2 plates on hack squat. And I'm replacing stair climber 5 minutes for warm up. So I'm doing this as warm up. Now, it's a recent addition. Maybe in the past month or so I started doing this. And the reasoning is I want to hit my legs harder, because after putting on 40 pounds of muscle, the last 10 pounds are proving to be tricky. So I'm going to get creative with it, and I'm going to hit my legs at the start of every workout as warm up with 20 rep hack squats. And my thinking is that it will raise systemic testosterone throughout the body because I'm hitting such a large muscle group. I don't know how accurate that is, but I think it has been helping. So that's what I'm trying. So I'm going to start there. The second thing is I do 1 set of max rep pull-ups for warm up, even on non-back days. So today's an arm day. So I'll do that. Then third is accessory lifts. I'm going to hit my calves, 2 sets, because, well, they need work. That's the accessory lift for this workout. And then finally, we're going to start the arm workout, which is going to be side laterals. And that's going to be superset side laterals with drop set and partial reps. Then triceps, 2 exercises for that, and then biceps, barbell curl. And we're done. So with that being said, let's get started. I'll make sure it's 2 plates. Okay. So I like going duck stance squat, as I learned from Tom Platz, because it hits the outer quad sweep more. Okay. Okay, I'll take a rest pause there, which is an intensity technique. So rest pauses allows you to keep going, and I quite like them. But a quick note, with the warm-ups and all of that, the workout may seem long, but it is still calibrated to 1 hour. Okay, so the shoulders are 2 exercises, 2 sets only. Both have supersets, so they're efficient. Similar for triceps, similar for bicep. So I can do everything in 1 hour, so it's still efficient. All right, so that's 10 reps. This does work as cardio. 10 more. Okay, that's 15. I can feel that my heart rate is elevated. If I had to guess, I'd probably guess it's around 150. I think I'll check it after this. Yesterday I did stair sprints and my heart rate was 180. Not quite max, but let's see how it compares versus this. 5 more. All right, time for some pull-ups. All right, time for 1 set of pull-ups. And I do this every workout except on back workouts. And I've been doing it for over 2 years. And now I can do almost 18, sometimes 19 and even 20 pull-ups just from training it at a warm-up. So the trick here is full range of motion at the maximum depth, at the maximum stretch. When you apply the load, it creates the greatest stresses and in turn creates the most hypertrophy. So make sure you go to maximum stretch, otherwise you're shortchanging yourself. But quick comparison on the leg press, the hack squat. Once I was done my 20 rep hack squat, I was at a heart rate of 165, which is pretty good considering sprinting stairs, skipping a step gets me to around 175 to 180. So it does work pretty well as cardio. All right, that being said, let's do some pull-ups. All right, that's 14. I'll take a rest pause by hanging. Almost a failure, one more rest pause. Do one more. That's 18 and then partials. That's what I mean by intensity techniques. Full range of motion, rest pauses, length and partial reps. And consistency. All right, time for calves. So the way I train calves is a similar pattern to a lot of my other muscle groups, which is first set is ignition set, where you pre-exhaust the muscle with a lighter weight, and the second set is the working set. One working set, but you attack it with a triple level drop set with length and partial reps and rest pauses. That way the time under tension is maximized even though it's only one set. And it gets them to grow pretty well. Also, I've only started training them about 7 months ago. I didn't think they would grow, but a fellow gym member who started off as an ectomorph on a natural bodybuilding journey also had really good calves, and I asked him how, and he said, just train them like any other muscle group. And I have to say, they do respond. They have been growing. So I'll do about 20 reps nice and slow for pre-exhaustion. Also called ignition set, that terminology I got from Athlete X. Excellent channel. He promotes the pre-exhaustion and then working set principle, which I have to say works very nice. I go for the maximum stretch. Even in the static hold on the maximum stretch, you will feel a significant burn, which is nice, and then you go to the top. Okay, so they are approaching failure. So I'll do partials. Okay, so that is the ignition set. That was about 30 pounds. The working set will be with 70 pounds, and then I'll work my way down the rack, drop set style. All right, working set. So this is 70 pounds. And I'm going to do a multi-level drop set as I slowly work the weight stack down. Alright, partials. Just my footing. All right, that's feeling pretty good. I'm feeling the burn. We'll knock it down by 10 pounds, 60 pounds now. Take a bit of a rest pause. My left knee clicks, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't seem to be impacting anything. And that was in the Porsche accident, actually. The left airbag hit my knee. Car was totaled. Unfortunately, it was my dream car, but luckily the clicking knee is all that happened. Of course, insurance did pay it out, which I put all the money into the academy. It would be nice to get another one, but the campaign comes first. Partials. Okay, so we are at 50 pounds now, and the calves are near exhaustion. Yeah, if you ever see me trying to crack my left knee like that, now you know why. Alright, partials. I do need to hurry up because it is 7:35. I need to get back to my campaign, my mission, my work. So if you're following my original workouts, you would have noticed that before I was staying awake till 6 a.m., 7 a.m. and doing my work. Then I slowly rotated my schedule where I was waking up at 4 a.m. and my schedule is rotating again. Now I'm waking up at 6 a.m., which is not ideal. But it just happens that my body works better in 30-hour cycles than 24, which is a little hard to deal with, but I would like to try to anchor my routine. If not, then I'll rotate it again all the way. Slowly become a night owl and then early birder again. Oof. Partials. That's 20. That's 30. Okay, so multi-level drop set and partials, and then going ham on the partials at the end. The calves are fully done. All right, let us go work out shoulders. All right, time for shoulders. This follows a similar pattern to calves, but 2 working sets. First is still an ignition set. So I'll do 20 reps with 20 pounds. All right, the working set will be with 30 pounds, drop set it to 20, and both are supersetted with partial reps. All right, first working set is going to be 17 plus 17, and then 17 plus 17 on the drop set, using rest pauses as needed. Partials. All right, so that was 17 full reps, 17 half reps for 30 pounds. Take a 10-second rest pause. But that's what I mean by intensity techniques. Extensively using supersets and drop sets. As natural athletes, that's pretty much what you can control, the stimulus. Take a rest pause at 9. And this is how you go beyond failure. Rest pauses and supersets. Alright, that was 17. Now partials. Those partials really burn. Okay, one more working set. All right, working set number 2. Shoulders are feeling pretty good. Now, I am gonna switch to seated. Usually I do them seated. I thought I'd experiment with standing, but I seated. I'll go back there. So it's 17 plus 13 and then 13 plus 13 with rest pauses as needed. All right, take a rest pause at 8. The range of motion does feel better sitting. All right, they're at failure. I'm at 12. Need 5 more. I use rest pauses. Two more. All right, partials. All right, drop set to 20 pounds. Rest pause at 5. And the burning is like a 9. Just need 7 more. All right, 13 partials. All right, shoulders are done. Time for triceps. All right, time for tricep. Behind the back, overhead press, 33 pounds, 20 reps warm up. Why warm up? Ignition set. And by that I mean go to failure. Going for 20 reps and partials. And then partials. Partials at the most lengthened position of the muscle. Ugh. All right, I should probably make this a little higher. So that is the ignition set. Next will be a working set. All right, working set time. So it's going to be 50 pounds, 8 reps plus partials, then 27.5 pounds, as many as I can, plus partials, also as many as I can. The ignition set I did too quickly. Each rep was too fast. I need to slow it down. Alright, they're a failure, so I'm going to transfer the load to my lats by flaring them. I need 4. I need 4 more. Okay, maybe I slowed down too much this time. That's 6. I'm going to take a rest pause and complete the remainder. 2 more plus partials. Alright, that's not happening. Those partials were very tiny, but got to failure, so it's fine. Right, drop set and repeats. Partials. All right, they have failed. All right, next is going to be the traditional tricep rep, push down, 1 set. All right, last exercise for triceps. Now, this one I start off at 88 pounds, and it's a multi-level drop set. Each with partials whenever I can, basically throwing everything I got into this and working myself down the stack. Take a rest pause. What this does is it keeps you near the zone of failure, so each rep is effective. And when I'm working on multiple body parts in a session, these efficiency techniques are really good. I'm now at 44 pounds, so halfway down the stack. Triceps are roasted. But of course, we're going to push them beyond failure. Alright, they're dead. You can barely flex them. One more drop set. Make sure they're dead. It feels too easy, funnily enough. Triceps are done. Time for biceps. All right, time for biceps. So I do 2 sets of this. First one is 80 pounds, 10 full reps, 6 partials. One more. Partials. All right. One more working set and we're done. For the next working set, it's the same thing, but there's a drop set as well. All right. Last set. 6 plus 7 with 80 pounds and then 5 plus 5 with 60 on the drop set. Of course, push yourself to failure, record these numbers, and then use them as a reference, whatever they are for you. All right, drop set to 60 pounds. Arms are a failure, but I need 5 plus 5. Gather myself, rest, pause, all of that, jump back into it. Sweet. Let's go check out the pump. All right, workout is done. I am happy with that. It took right about 58 minutes or so. So quite happy with that. Let us check out the pump. Yeah, I think I like to keep the workout around 1 hour mark. You don't need more than that if you go intense. Okay, so I tricep. Back, double bi. Front lat spread. Most muscular. All right, let's see. I fly through them now, so I try to remember some I haven't done. Let's see. Can I think of any more? My side pose. I don't think it's actually a pose, but body fat is coming down a bit. I threw stairs back into the mix. Shouldn't have stopped those. The cognitive benefit is just too great. The workout just doesn't compare. They are really good. Okay, let's see. Let's do one more. Let's do side chest. All right, that's it for today. It's the 44th workout. Thank you for joining me. Next, we are going to do legs, and legs will be brutal. So I'll see you guys then.
The key to stimulating muscle growth is the intensity of the exercise.
Experiencing pain in your muscles and then go on, and this last repetitions, that's what makes the muscle grow.